Well, welcome, friends, to our latest Pop Culture Pastors Hour. My name is Edward Goode, and I write at Imago Scriptura on Substack.
And I am MaryAnn McKibben Dana, and I write at the Blue Room on Substack. And we are so glad to have you all with us for our third and final Lord of the Rings podcast and conversation.
Yes, our trilogy ends today, but I promise we won't have like 5 endings. Like when
That's
we
right.
end, we will end.
It will be over, and you'll know it's
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
We do want to let you all know what's coming up. We have already scheduled our next conversation, which will be on the Apple TV television show Pluribus, which came out last year at the end of 2025, but I finally got around to watching the rest of it. So this coming Monday, the 9th of February at noon Eastern Standard Time. So February 9th at noon, we will be talking about Pluribus, and we will be talking about the entire first season. They are coming back for season 2. And boy, that is a rich, rich text. Lots of great themes for us to explore about what it means to be human, the nature of kind of community, and so we're gonna have a good time with that one.
Yeah. One quick note on that. It is spoilers galore, and in my opinion, it is a show that if you have not watched it, go into it knowing as little as possible. So
Agree.
not to say we don't want people to join on, but I'd kind of say if you haven't watched it, just bookmark this, then watch it, and
Yeah.
then come back.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. Don't let yourself be spoiled. Because that's part of the fun. I mean, it's a kind of a mystery show, but also not really. I think for me, I was really hooked in with the themes, rather than trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, we're gonna have a good time with that one. We don't have any others scheduled, but it's time to start getting you all out ahead of the fact that we will be doing at least 2 episodes on Project Hail Mary, which comes out as a film in March. So now is the time to read the book. If you are looking for something to read, or even if you're not, amazing audiobook, great book. The movie has the potential to break our hearts, right, Ed? Because if it's not good, we're going to be really, really sad. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's in really good hands. I mean, Lord and Miller, who did the Into the Spider-Verse movies, and others, were Ryan Gosling in the starring role. Yeah, we're optimistic.
Yeah.
So
we do need to introduce, by the way, the third member of our team.
yes,
I'm if you notice I have a kind of a weird angle, it's because I'm sitting on the floor of my office, and it is because my fuzzy friend here needed to join in and was just looking way too cute on the floor.
Scout. We're
Yeah,
so happy
so
to have Scout with us.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so we have, with our discussions of Lord of the Rings, we started out with kind of a round of Will It Preach. We looked at some of the themes and tried to stump each other with how we would preach different things in the trilogy. Our second episode was last week, and that was just going right at the big themes. And we did that through the lens of Ed's wonderful formulation. In the spirit of the Apostle Paul, you have your sign off on letters and emails, which is grace, peace, hope, love, hope, joy. So we looked at those 5 virtues, and how the Lord of the Rings expresses them. And today we're just going to have some fun. We've got some categories. We're going to kind of talk about the stories as they're expressed mainly on the screen, but we'll talk a little bit about the books, which maybe that's a good place to start, which is our first category is, and we're just going to get through as many of these as we can. So the best change from the books to the movies. And what is your experience with these, having read these? I will say that I have read them once. So I'm going to be a little out of my depth talking about comparisons between books and films. But what's your experience with the text of The Lord of the Rings?
So I actually didn't read them until I saw the movies for coming out.
Okay.
Yeah, I just somehow never got to reading them, never, dug into dug into them. But then when I saw the movies coming out and kind of all the hype that was starting to go with it, I was like, I need to read these. Uh, but I did get into a bit of trouble because I got really bogged down in the first book in the Council of Elrond, which is
Mm.
a rough read because there's no action, it's just history and conversation. And so I kind of skimmed it. And then I got further in the book and I'm like, wait, I missed something.
Ah,
And I said something to my wife, Amy, about that. And she's like, did you read the Council of Elrond? And I was like, So, yeah.
busted.
So anyway, yeah, so I've read it multiple times since.
Okay, great. All
But
right. So you'll
yeah.
have a little more experience out of which to read. I read them last year. So I'm very new at it. I made a couple of attempts over the last 25 years since Fellowship of the Ring came out in theaters and got bogged down as our dear Frodo and Sam did, wandering around trying to get into Mordor. That was me, just wandering around the two towers, but I finally made it through, and I'm glad I did. And boy, there's just some beautiful, beautiful passages in there. So what would you say is your favorite, or maybe the best change from books to movies?
I it's more of a general thing. And this is just I think because of just the nature of like our, attention span of gnats right now. The pacing.
Mhm.
Um, the books are slow and they are not easy to read. I mean, when you start them busting into, lengthy songs um and even, like in the Two Towers, that the books don't go back and forth between. It's like, here's this story, and then here's this story. And so, like in the Soundtrack Show podcast about the Two Towers, that was one of the things he brought up was this interweaving. So I think that was a very good change. Was to do that. Is one that comes to mind for me, and I think also eliminating. There are some things, especially in Fellowship, that feel a little extraneous.
Mm.
The Tom Bombadil storyline, the Barrowweight storyline, those I they don't feel like they contribute to the
Yeah.
whole as much.
That's a
And so
controversial take among some of the fandom
I
to not have
know,
Tom Bombadil in there.
I know, I
I tend
know.
to agree, though. I think
Yeah.
that, having encountered them first in movie form, I loved that character, but I could see how he could lift out narratively and make it a lot leaner. Um, so yeah, I think the reason why these movies have stood the test of time for so long is they are a faithful adaptation of the best of those books and the spirit of those books, but it's not a strict adaptation of them.
Mhm, mhm.
I would say my favorite change from books to movies is also somewhat general. And some of you who've read my work know that I've talked about this idea of hope punk, which is the triumph of ordinary people through kindness who persevere even amidst really difficult odds. And I think especially as you see The Lord of the Rings on expressed on screen, you really see that. You see that embodied in Sam and Frodo and these ordinary people who are just going to keep on going and doing their thing, even if, as Gimli puts it, small chance of success, certainty of death. Like, what are we waiting for? Um, and Hope punk is distinct from another genre of fantasy and science fiction that's called Noble Bright. And the idea behind Noble Bright is you have these kind of amazing heroes who just kind of never misstep, and they're inspirational and they kind of lead the charge in all these really amazing ways. And Tolkien, the way he wrote The Lord of the Rings, there's a lot more Noble Bright in it. You don't really have characters like Aragorn. I mean, he's kind of pretty sure he wants to be king throughout the books. And in the movies, you have him feeling ambivalent about that. Um, you don't have as much temptation by the ring from some of these characters in the books as you do in the movies. And so I think what I want to say is they're more fleshed out characters, which is strange to me. in some ways. Like, usually in a book, you have a lot more opportunity to flesh out characters and lead to their complications and their contradictions and their frailties, and that's just kinda not what Tolkien was about. So you kinda have these noble, good characters that kinda don't falter that much, and I'm much more interested in characters that, that moment where Aragorn is kind of like he wants to reach out and take the ring, and then he stops himself. Just a lot more ambiguity there. So that would be my general answer to that of what I think works really well.
Yeah, and the moment, like with Aragorn, I think that's a great take on it. I think also, where he needs Elrond to, become the king you were meant to be.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like it is time. Like, you at some point have to claim that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
and that when that comes, I mean, that's a powerful, beautiful scene
Yeah.
in the
It's very
films. So,
relatable too, right?
mhm,
Even, I mean, you think about some of our real life heroes. They had moments of doubt. They stumbled. They were imperfect, and so the relatability of those characters, I think, really matters. So
mhm,
that
mhm.
that to me is an important change. So how about the other side of that? Worst change from books to movies, or one that just you doesn't have to be worst objectively, but for you is. And I think I let me start this one because you started the
Sure.
last time. Um, there are a couple uh, that struck me when I read the books last year, and one of them is uh, the Ents, Treebeard and the Ents in the movies are very unaware and kind of separated from the battle for Middle Earth that is already underway. The fact that the forests of Fangorn are already being cut down and destroyed, and it's like they kind of don't even know what's going on with that until they are shown that by Merry and Pippin in the movies. And I understand why they did that. It's very dramatic to see Treebeard like behold this devastation, and then he's like, the Ents are going to war. But I think that's a little it just felt unrealistic to that character given his like sort of deep awareness and history and longevity as a character not to be very sensitively attuned to what's going on. If he's truly a tree herder, wouldn't he kind of sense that this is already going on? And that to me, it's for the economy and the dramatic kind of storytelling, but it sacrifices a little bit of the character. And that's just that's one example that came to me as
Mhm,
I was thinking about this question. So,
mhm,
how
mhm.
about you?
Well, the Ents were definitely in it for me, so I'm
Mm.
not gonna to go with that. Um, one, I in the books, the pursuit of Frodo and Sam with the ring before they get to Bree, and I know this kinda contradicts to what I just said about, um, Tom Bombadil and the Barrow-wights and all that stuff, but in the movies, it just kinda feels like the Nazgul, the Black Riders, like, "Oh, they can't swim?" Like,
Mhm.
they just jump onto a raft, they're 5 feet away. You can't
Yeah.
tell me the Nazgul can't just, like, chuck his sword and, like,
Right.
so I feel like the Nazgul get rather neutered, for lack of a better word, especially in the first movie, um, just in the service of, "We've got to get Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, but specifically the ring, we gotta get it to Bree so they can catch up with Aragorn, maybe Gandalf." Um, so that I feel like, because I mean, the Nazgul are they're rough. I mean, they are formidable villains, and
Yes. That's a
they
great point.
kinda get it a little lighter than maybe they should, and then they
Never
make
thought
it up
yeah.
for it a little bit later, but,
Yeah. I've
um
never thought about that, but I think that's really right, and then you see them, like, they have their swords, and they're sort of trying to spear that they think the little hobbits are in their beds, and I'm like, "Are you really that fooled by these feather beds that, so they do look kind of hapless. And I don't think I've ever kind of put together that is serving a narrative or a kind of a pacing purpose to just kind of, we need to get these characters to their marks. But it does sacrifice something that, like, near the end, it's like, are you really that afraid of these guys? And yeah, they are they are super scary. But they didn't start out that way. That's a great one.
Yeah. Uh, the other, and I literally, I just blanked it. I just blanked it. And we talked a bit last week in our last one about this, but I think, and I know, again, it's in service of the way our films are made and all that. The violence level of the films is high. And, for the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is incredible to watch on screen, but to still have it take like an hour in the film. I mean, and in the books, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't do that. And this just sort of jumps ahead a little bit to the Hobbit movies. That was probably my biggest criticism of the Hobbit movies, was they brought in these huge things that aren't there in the books. And so, again, I know the reasons they did it, but it does kind of have the thing of like, well, what do you remember most about the movies? Well, I remember the Battle of Helm's Deep, and I remember, the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and I remember the moment at the Black Gate. So, yeah, and that's just the nature of our culture right now.
Yeah,
and filmmaking and so forth.
That'd be that's a side conversation for us to have at some point, right? Why do these movies have to have these huge stakes, planetary battles, CGI spectacles? Are we not past that, or can we not get past that? Anyway,
yeah. So that would be the one that I would say those would be mine. There's some other nitpicks, and if one of my kids was on here who has devoured these even more, there'd be a much longer list.
Fair enough.
Much longer list.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, all right. So let's get into specific characters here, shall we?
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
So we have a question that I love, kind of this one that kind of flips some things around. Which villain do you like the most, and which hero annoys you? So do you want to take this one first, or should I?
Yeah, I will. I will give that a try. And this kind of contradicts what I said earlier about the complexity, the complexifying of our heroes in the movie versions, where you kind of have ambiguous Aragorn who's not sure, he's reluctant, right? Or you have, Denethor, who also has a complicated kind of, like, they've just done some interesting, complex things with these characters. But when it comes to the villains, like, in recent years, you kind of have what we sometimes call villains with a point. Someone like Killmonger from the Black Panther movie, or even Thanos from the Infinity Saga and Marvel. Like, you're like, well, I see what they're trying to do here, and they have a point. They're just doing it in a really violent or awful, ill-considered way. And we don't really have that here. But villain you like the most, I think I had to go with kind of villain that you love to hate, which you can handle it differently. But I think that, the one that just really turns my stomach in a way that's just sort of satisfying to see the whole arc is the Mouth of Sauron. And that's also a change, actually, isn't it, from the books? But he is so despicable. He just flat out lies to them and makes them think that Frodo has died. This is at the end of Return of the King, before the big conclusion there. And he is just absolutely gross. They really render that character effectively. And when he loses his head, you're like, oh, thank God. Even though that may not have been a good strategic choice, we're just like, yes. So I wouldn't say that I like that character at all, but it's an effective, like, when I see him come out, I'm like, all right, here we go, right? So do you want to answer that one, and then we can go to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hero that,
I'll do that. And quick side note with that one is that was actually cut from the theatrical version.
all right.
That
Yeah,
the whole Mouth of Sauron piece is only in the extended editions that
crazy.
which in my opinion are really the only editions. But
Yes.
um so that's just an interesting one of, what when they were making, putting it out to the theaters, it was like, well, we're
Yep.
just not even going to do it.
Right.
Um on a similar kind of sense to it, yeah, there's not, you know, there's not really any villains that I think kind of get like a redemption arc or anything else like that that happens in this. Um, but for me, it's Denethor. I just
Ah,
Denethor is just, and maybe it's just because of how amazing a performance John Noble gives as Denethor.
yep.
He's just so awful.
Yep.
Um, and But it's just like when he's on screen, you just cannot take your eyes off him.
Yep.
Um, and he just captures every scene just powerfully, and
So well.
especially the, eating the cherry tomatoes while Faramir's riding out.
Yep.
And he's not even really saying anything other than "Sing me a song."
Mhm. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I gotta go with Denethor. I
That's a
just because
great.
he feels a little more complicated than just Sauron just wants to take over,
Yep.
and Saruman sort of gives in, and
Yeah, that's just those are just power plays, right?
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, Denethor has this kind of weird, bizarre, disgusting view of love as something that is earned, that his sons have to earn, and I just love the line, like, and I'm gonna paraphrase, but when he says to Pippin, "Go and die in whatever way seems fitting to you." It's like, dang. So
yeah.
yeah, he is the worst.
Mhm.
Okay, an annoying hero. I gotta go with Pippin on that. Like, I I despite being someone that I like to consider myself somewhat good-humored, I'm not big on whimsy, and, there's just something about, Pippin who just I guess the good thing about him is he's completely free of guile, but he's just constantly screwing things up and doesn't seem to learn until relatively late in the so I would find him extremely frustrating just if he were in my fellowship.
Mhm.
He definitely comes through in the end and has his own character arc, but yeah. A shout out to Billy Boyd who just makes that character work so well. But yeah, he's young. I know that he's younger than the others, so that comes across. So
Mhm.
that's my that's my irritation, my secret irritation that I've never confessed anywhere before. So here we go.
And there
How
we
about you?
go. Wow. Um, so one of them, and we kind of played with this a bit already, is the portrayal of the Ents in the way the Ents are portrayed in the movies, excuse me. Because I'm just like, really?
Yeah.
You don't know? Like, I mean, once you get going, yeah, the last parts of the Ents just,
Yes.
but just sort of like you are so disconnected from
Yes.
the natural world. Like, really? So, but the other one for me in terms of like a real specific character is Elrond. Um,
Mm.
I just I just and maybe this is again sort of like daddy issue things, just yeah, I understand his things, but it's just so like callous
Yeah.
of um like I know better than you, my daughter. I am
Mhm.
smarter than you, and so I'm going to hold information from you that's
Yep.
really big.
Yep.
And um
And that's a change from the books too, right? Where
yeah,
in the movies, the elves have kind of just washed their hands of Middle Earth in some
yeah.
ways, and they're just like, "Hey, we're going to peace out here, so
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good luck with your apocalypse." But and so yeah, that's a great shout out.
Yeah.
What is his deal?
Mhm.
And yeah, and because of the way they they play all that out. And with the Ents too, like you could see a character who's like, I am so old that, you know what, kingdoms are going to topple. I am going to just keep doing my thing. We're bigger than all of this and your own little petty squabbles here. That's a point of view, at least. But because the Ents, again, they don't even know that their own kind are being slaughtered, that the trees are being felled around Isengard. It just makes them come across as completely uncaring. And it's like
Mhm.
whatever. So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yep. Yep.
that's good. We skipped one. I want to go back to this
Did.
one. Yes, this one is the worst co-opting of the series. Um, you know, concepts from these stories show up in popular culture and in our world, and there is one that is absolutely the worst. And there's only one answer, as far as we were both concerned. We didn't confer on any of our answers, but you wanna tee it up for us?
I'd be happy to. I
Yeah.
would be absolutely happy to. So, in the films and in the books, there's these seeing stones that, and the way in the films they're portrayed is basically they're these stones that allow Saruman and Sauron to communicate, and that they also have this like effect on the people who engage with them. This kind of corrupting thing, when Pippin picks it up, it kind of knocks him into a coma, and just they're awful. They are evil stones, and there is a company, tech company called Palantir that run by Peter Thiel that is basically about harvesting our personal information, using it into government databases to track and likely try to control uh, individuals and organizations and things of that sort. So, yeah, and I don't know how they get around like the Tolkien estate to use the name. I don't know, but that it is, and in one sense, maybe it's just like a full on like, yeah, I know this thing is evil and I'm going to use it.
Yep. I don't care. Yeah.
Um, so
Yep.
that's me on that
Yeah.
one.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. Palantir is the absolute worst.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we had to put that one in there.
Yeah, we did. We did.
All right. Next
Best
one.
music cue.
Best music cue.
Yeah. So MaryAnn put me on to this podcast that I've absolutely fallen in love with called The Soundtrack Show, which if any of y'all have not heard it and you appreciate movie soundtracks, it's incredible. It really does make you experience films in ways you might not have before. And so when I just did the rewatch of the first two parts of the films in the theaters a couple weeks ago, that was the first time I'd seen them since I'd listened to the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers uh, soundtrack shows, and it was it was like a new experience. Um, so yeah, so we threw in a question of best music cue. So Marion, you want to kick this one off?
Yep. Um, there are so many beautiful examples of Howard Shore's score is amazing, and some of what they call diegetic music, which is people singing. It's music that the characters can hear. So, when Pippin sings to Denethor, that is diegetic music. And I didn't go with any of those, although I love Eowyn's lament for her cousin, and that's beautiful. But for me, there is only one answer, and it is in the Dana house when we move our like stereo theater setup and have to reconfigure something. This is the scene that we play as kind of is everything working right, or is the subwoofer plugged in? All of this, and it is the lighting of the beacons in Return of the King, when you see this grand expanse of mountain range and these fires that are being lit as signals from Gondor to I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, not even listening to the music. And if you listen to the soundtrack show, they actually interview Douglas Adams, who wrote a book about the music of, I think it's called The Music of the Lord of the Rings. And he talks about, he got to know Howard Shore, and they asked Douglas Adams, like, did Howard Shore have a particular kind of music cue or something that really, that he was very proud of? And they specifically mentioned this scene, the lighting of the beacons. And I believe that piece is called The White Tree. We'll make sure that's correct in the show notes. Oh, there goes Scout behind you.
Yeah, she's got to go. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's my answer.
Mhm.
How about you?
I couldn't choose between two.
All right.
That one is amazing. Of course, yeah, the whole soundtrack is amazing. I absolutely adore Concerning Hobbits, the Shire theme. I just that so
Yeah,
the
we've got
start of
somebody
Top Gun.
said the start of Top Gun during the VHS days is what you use
Yeah,
to calibrate your stereo
that's right.
equipment.
That's right.
Love it.
But I just the simplicity, the warmth of that is just so heartwarming. Like I could just listen to that one and just it warms my heart. It's just got such a
Yeah.
beautiful sense of simplicity and nature and the warmth. Like it really does represent
Yeah.
what the Shire is.
Yep.
And then the other one that I adore is the Last March of the Ents.
Mm-hmm.
When the Ents finally start going, just it's kind of like the beacons. It's just like this thing that just builds and
Yeah.
something they said in the soundtrack show, which and I, as somebody who's fairly musically illiterate, there was so much that I learned from that, but that all the instruments in the Last March of the Ents were wood instruments.
Nice.
Which are these, so there's no brass in
Yeah.
there. And so it's these things like Shore using even just the instruments to tell the story.
That's so
Like the actual
beautiful.
physical. Yeah. So yeah. So those two I don't know that I can choose.
Yeah. Oh, why choose? Why choose?
That's right.
I
That's right.
One thing that they didn't talk about in terms of the Shire theme, is, do you hear, when you hear the Shire theme, "This is my father's world"? Do 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 do. That is the first line of "This is my father's world," the hymn. And then it goes on into another direction. I can't not hear it. But I've never heard anyone address the fact that those are the exact same notes. The first part of the Shire theme, which, anyway, um,
It
I
feels
think
like there's one
works.
extra note. I think it.
Yeah,
I think there's one extra note. I think I'm not saying it's, but I'm
yeah.
not going to be able to hear it otherwise now. So thank you for that.
Sorry.
But in the Shire theme, it's like it feels like there's a da 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 da. Like it feels like there's just like one extra
Yeah,
note that he
could
threw in,
be,
maybe to
could
avoid
be.
the copyright.
It is the same.
Oh,
Yeah, although that's way in the public domain. I
that's
think
fair.
that's a
Fair.
very
Yeah.
old hymn. But anyway,
Yeah.
every time I hear it, I just go, "Yeah, there it
Totally.
is," which
And
I
that
think
works too,
works.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thematically, I think
Absolutely.
it's nice. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Moving forward here, let's see. So we have a few questions that kind of are all somewhat similar, but let's boil it down to this. So, what meal or scene that we see in the movies would you most want to be a part of? What would you want to be there for? And you can stick with an actual meal, or a kind of a broader interpretation of that question. Where do you want to be?
Um, I I want to be in the Green Dragon. Like
Mm,
I want to go to the Green Dragon in the Shire, especially at the very beginning. Kind of not the Green Dragon at the end where, they've all kind of come back and are changed in that experience, but
mhm,
again, just that the feel of the Shire, and people are just they're laughing, they're drinking, they're singing, I love that.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one. I
yeah.
was tempted to go with either that one or Bilbo's party. And what's one of the appealing things about both of those scenes is that it's this veneer of innocence over everything. Like nothing bad has happened yet. The the conflicts are so minimal. Like the Sackville Bagginses are trying to take Bilbo's house, and they're kind of trying to find him and stuff. But otherwise, it's just idyllic, right? And I think for that reason, I want to go with a different answer, and that is it's played for laughs, but it's I guess they're at Edoras when they kind of have it's Gimli and Legolas are in that kind of drinking contest with one another. There's just a real sense of we've come through so much together, and it's a feast. There's laughter. Eowyn's kind of starting to make her feelings more known toward Aragorn, and Theoden is kind of aware of this, and so there's a little bit of like love is in the air, and I think what I like about it, and again, there's something about the innocence of the Green Dragon where nothing has happened yet, but those kind of gatherings where you've been through some stuff together and you can just feast and you can just enjoy and love each other's company, it takes on a new meaning, right? It's like we really need this. I mean, I think about all that we are all experiencing now with kind of making our voices heard and standing up for one another and all of this. It just makes those victories and those kind of moments when we can pause and just share a meal together all the sweeter. So I would smuggle that one in, even though there's just something so amazing about being in the Shire before any of that stuff goes on. So,
Can I smuggle one in that
oh,
actually isn't there?
yeah, of course.
So, for those who maybe did not watch all the way to the end of the credits of the first Avengers movie, there is that great scene. I think it's the final credit scene of the Avengers. They've just saved New York, you know, and they're eating shawarma, and they're just
Yes.
sitting there. They're not talking. They're just sitting there eating shawarma.
Yeah.
I wonder about like the first meal after they got back to Rivendell, after the
Yeah.
ring was destroyed. It was
Right.
just like that first time, like everybody's back together and and you get a little bit of that with the Green Dragon with the other one, but like with everybody who's survived from the Fellowship. Um, yeah, that would have
Right.
been
That's a
maybe
great, yeah.
eating shawarma at Rivendell. So
Right.
if they serve
Yeah,
shawarma.
they're still kind of injured. They're, but the victory is so sweet because they're together. I love that. That's great. All right.
Yep.
The next one is this is a category that I came up with years ago, and there's actually multiple answers. You teed this up because of ones in particular, but this is what I call best hair acting. There is some amazing hair swirling around in the wind in these movies. They all a lot of them have these long locks that just and this was put in specifically for one comment. I wonder if you want to name that one because I have another answer for this. But you want to talk
Oh,
about
you have
Eowyn?
another answer? Oh, yeah. So the first time you meet Eowyn in the Two Towers, uh, she's just had, shall we say, a not great conversation with Wormtongue, and she goes out sort of on the front steps of the Golden Hall, and they're on the top of this mountain hill thing. The winds are whipping and so forth, and her hair is just like
It's amazing.
uh, it's
It's
phenomenal.
like Medusa with a mind of its own.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, that is the Eowyn hair scene in Two Towers, just
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm going with that.
Cue it up
Yeah.
and you will see it really is a work of art. I don't know how they kind of got the fans to work just right where it sort of obscures her face and then it comes back around and then the flag kind of goes flying off the flagpole
Yeah.
and rests right in front of our heroes as they're galloping up to Edoras. But the other one that I want to name is also in the Two Towers, and this is the scene where we think that Aragorn has fallen to his death, but he's ridden this long way to warn them in Helm's Deep that this big, huge Uruk-hai army is coming, and so it's the scene where he pushes open those double doors and he's lit from the back. And I mean, he's so gross, although Viggo Mortensen is never gross, but he's like, his hair is sort of stringy and it sort of swings as he pushes the door open. And so that would be my honorable mention for best hair acting. So Eowyn takes the gold medal for sure with her beautiful golden hair, but Aragorn makes a really good showing with just kind of pushing, and it's in slow motion, so you kind of have this rocking back and forth. Amazing hair acting from those two.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. So
Yeah, he definitely gets on the podium for that. I definitely agree with that.
yes.
Yeah.
All right. Next category. No Lord of the Ring actors were nominated for Oscars. So we need to give best actor and best supporting actor. I don't know if you want to do actress and actor, or you just want to do one for each, or just shout out a couple. But
so considering there's legitimately three female actors
right.
who have significant roles in the movie.
True.
It kind of, I mean, I think so I'll throw in terms of who we're going to do it, male and female. I would definitely put Eowyn for best actor, best actress, Miranda Otto, and Cate Blanchett as best supporting actress.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with those.
Liv Tyler did fine, but
Yep.
I think the other two are just.
Yep. I co-sign those.
Yeah. So I'll start in terms of I gotta, and I don't know what the difference. I guess it would probably have to be supporting. It's an absolute crime that Andy Serkis has never even been nominated.
Yeah.
For the many different kinds of like mocap and other things that he's done. But his depiction of Smeagol and Gollum is so I guess he'd technically probably be a supporting actor in that. So I'd go with Andy Serkis for
that is a great
Gollum Smeagol.
Yeah.
So
that's good. Yeah. I would find that hard to argue with. I'm going to go a couple other directions and just have to smuggle in two here because I just don't know how I would pick between them. Christopher Lee as Saruman is so good. And I have to share this little bit of trivia. If you're a huge Lord of the Rings fan, you've already heard this, but the scene where Saruman actually dies, where he is stabbed in the back by Wormtongue, they give him a direction to kind of cry out in a certain way. And Christopher Lee says, that is not what a body sounds like when it has been stabbed. And he knows because of Christopher Lee's amazing history. It's more of a kind of a gasp inward, like an intake of breath. And he kind of does, he does that. He does it. It's an accurate depiction. And that's just one tiny example of how amazing his performance is. And I almost picked him for favorite villain because he's just his evilness is not complex, but his character is it's just deeply realized. But Bernard Hill as Theoden, boy, some speechifying that just cannot be beat. So I would have a hard time picking between those two. You're probably right about Andy Serkis, though. Mm-hmm. But those are my two choices for supporting actor. Yeah. So how about best actor?
My heart says I want to go with Sam, with Sean Astin. But I kind of gotta go with Gandalf. Just that performance is just.
Would you go with one of the movies in particular? He's not around for a lot of Two Towers and second part of Fellowship.
I think for Fellowship, I just think he captures so much of kind of the lighthearted Gandalf, ho, 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 after, the fireworks go off.
Yeah.
But then just the depth of the, keep it secret, keep it safe, and just fly, you fool. Like just the spread of what is shared in that role is just so. I would go with So
Okay.
that'd be my best actor.
That's great. I am gonna go with Viggo Mortensen. Um, and some of this is a little bit external to the story, realizing that he was not the first choice to play Aragorn. I can't even remember the name of the guy, Stuart Townsend, I think. It's inconceivable to me. It is completely befuddling. Um, that guy was born to play that role, and because Aragorn has these complexities that aren't in the books, he really does have to. I mean, he's got the swashbuckling like fighter. He's the protector. He's tender. He's a romantic lead. Um, there's that. Which scene is it where he really breaks down and cries? What does he see? Um, is it? It's not at the end when Frodo has. I think it's when he sees something like the world of men is in great threat, and I can't remember, but there's just this haunting image that I have of him. He falls to his knees, and Legolas kind of puts a hand on his shoulder. He's so utterly despairing.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I think that would probably be my choice.
Mhm.
But I mean, Ian McKellen, just yeah, what an incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, just one of the greats. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, we've got a
Okay.
couple left. I think we have time to put in one more here. And I wonder if you'd be willing for me to add this one. Best speech. I mean, we've talked about this some, and maybe I want to say, aside from Sam's speech at the end of Two Towers, is there a favorite? Is there a favorite one that you? Or answer this: who would you invite to preach for you uh, if you were having somebody come and offer a message on a
I,
Sunday
I'm
morning?
I'm gonna go.
You can
I'm
say
gonna take
Sam.
the best speech. I'm gonna take no. I like Sam's there. Like that's
Yeah.
their. What's coming else on? Who else is on the podium? Um, I think I got to go with Theoden's at the beginning of the Battle of Pelennor Fields. I
Mhm.
just that she's riding along and banging all
Yes.
the spears and
So good.
oh
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah yeah.
That's good. I like that one a lot, and I also this is not it is a monologue, I guess. So we'll call it a speech. It's not in front of a whole bunch of people, but the way that Gandalf describes what comes next to Pippin
Mhm,
as they this is not the end. And the swift sunrise. It's so beautiful. It's so comforting. And to your point about Ian McKellen's performance, it's just the way he comforts Pippin and gives him a reason to hope that even though it looks like they're going to meet this very grim end, it's not really the end. So that would
mhm,
be my runner up after Sam's speech, which is one of the all time great speeches in the history of everything. So.
mhm, mhm.
All right, 2 more. The next one is you wanna tee this one up?
Yeah, so there's I don't know all the details of how the rating systems, go of like, you can have X number of people killed or, keeps it at PG-13 or, but there is something kind of the joke that if you have more than one expletive, something that would get beeped on CBS, moves it to R. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So what is the best place for one expletive in the film to keep these at PG-13?
Yeah.
Um,
And this question
so
has a history. This is from Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan's podcast. I think it was from their podcast. Anyway, I saw a
mhm,
video of them having this conversation. So,
mhm.
yeah.
So mine is actually maybe an unexpected one. I just when Mary and Pippin light off the dragon firework, like I can just see them just holy, just
Yes.
yeah. So that
I
just
wondered
feels
if you
like
were gonna say it for real.
no.
You'd
I'm
censored
we're
yourself.
we got to be see. Also on our Apple podcast feed, I've said that there's no
Yes. Okay. All right.
yeah. So
We're good for all ages. All right. That's good to know
yes,
before I share
yeah,
mine. That's
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So I'd
That
go
that
with that.
does that definitely. Um, and it's hard because you're also like we in our discussions of Andor. I don't know that we talked about this, but there's a line where Bale, right before Mon Mothma is going to give her speech, he says, "Tear the blank out of this place." And it's very weird to hear a curse word in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And it would be here too. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and use one of the ones that Billy and Dom came up with in their podcast, which is that line, which I think is not everybody loves. That in Fellowship, when they're in the mines of Moria and the troll comes in, and Boromir's like, "They have a cave troll." It's like, of course. And Billy and Dom's was, "They have an effing cave troll." And to me, it's just like, yes, that just like the kind of course they do, like what the heck.
Hmm.
So that was my choice for sneaking in one last expletive to keep it at PG-13.
Absolutely.
That would be my choice, but I think yours
Yep.
is good too. Like
Yeah.
when that dragon firework comes at them.
Yeah.
So
Which is awesome. I just love
yes,
that.
so
Yeah.
good, so good. All right, should we do our last one?
We should.
All
Let's tee
right.
it up.
So this was your question. So set the stage with it.
Okay, so there is all kinds of things that you can find online of, with every like major, IP thing of, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, all this of like which Harry Potter character would you be or which Lord of the Rings character would you be based on your Enneagram type or your Myers-Briggs or what have you. And they're all speculative and all that.
Yep.
But my family have always found that fun to sort of like look at those and be like, oh yeah, my fellow fives in the Lord of the Rings would be. Um, so I was kind of thinking on this one of somewhat based on Enneagram or just sort of our general sense of coming to know each other as friends here. What character do you think the other DCPH member should be cast as in the film? So my job is to answer for MaryAnn and
Mhm.
who I think MaryAnn should be cast as, and her job is to answer for me.
Yeah.
I don't know that really there's not many dogs that show up in the film. Like the
Yeah.
closest are the wargs, and I'm not doing that for scouts.
Yeah,
We're,
no,
we're just not
Scout
going there.
is definitely
Yeah.
she is much better than that. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and well, you can answer for me. As we just talked about, there are so few women in
So
the.
scout
You can
joins
go
in.
with a male character for me if you want. That's okay
I
because
was already
gives you a
planning on
lot.
it.
Okay, you get a lot more options that way.
Mhm.
Okay, do you want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll go first because
All right,
so I will say on my scout, yes.
there she is.
There she is. She's like, yeah, I am not a warg. Do not do that.
No, she's a
Um,
very good girl.
she's a very good girl. So, I did think that there is. I do see some Galadriel in you. So,
Mm.
so on the female side, like I do definitely see
I will
the.
go into the West and remain MaryAnn.
Yeah, there you go. um, but just of the, you know, what's right, what's wrong, and that's really kind of the thing of one of the things I sense, picked up with Marianne of like this very clear sense of speaking truth, speaking what's right, and doing what needs to be done. So I do see that with Galadriel, but I think Aragorn. I do see that,
Wow, nice.
of just that
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give in. I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep going, and I know what needs to be done.
Yeah.
So
That's good. Thank
yeah,
you. I
yeah,
will take that note. That's the Enneagram 1. We wanna do the right thing, always, always. Um, I have really been struggling. I've got it down to 2. Um, I'm just gonna name them both because I can't decide. Maybe you can decide which one you wanna kind of embody more. The first is Faramir. I think you I mean, what I love about Faramir, at least the way I understand him, is he is a deeply thoughtful character. Um, I love when they first meet, you first meet him, they've just struck down this man, and he's like, I wonder what his name was. He is a reluctant fighter. And I think that you would, if you had to find yourself in a kind of a war battle type situation, I think you would be very mindful of the philosophical and ethical and moral weight of that. And you definitely see that in Faramir. And by the way, just a little quick take here, which I just never saw until this past time I watched it. Faramir, I don't think is truly tempted by the ring. I think he wants to take it for the sake of showing his quality to his dad, but you never hear, this is the soundtrack, right? You never hear the little Temptation of the Ring music. He's just like, well, this is what we're going to do. But you don't hear that little kind of ring song anyway. And I just missed that the first 20 times I watched this series, is he is not really tempted by the ring, which I think is significant. But I think I'm going to go with Gimli. Gimli is so fun to be around. He's down to earth. He's loyal. I think those are all qualities that describe you in the time that I have gotten to know you. It can just really be dependent on. And so I think those are my two answers. Do you want to pick one, or did you have one in mind for yourself?
I love I love them both, but
Yeah.
I gotta say, I think I love the Faramir one. I never even really considered that, so I love that.
Oh, good. All right. Well, and that's good. So there's another side of your personality that we all get to enjoy. So
even though my wedding ring does look remarkably like the One Ring, so I was tempted by it, and wore it every day, so.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Awesome.
Fun.
Well, I will take that note and hope that you do as well. I'm pleased to be compared with Aragorn. He's a great character, one of the all-time greats. All right, that took us through our category crowns. This was fun to just end on a kind of a fun note, and we will have this up on the PCPH feed in the next several hours. And again, we want you to join us next week for Pluribus on the 9th at noon, and start reading Project Hail Mary, because we're going to give that the PCPH treatment for sure. That it deserves.
Hey, quick Project Hail Mary question. Are you going to see it in IMAX?
I will see it in the best format that I am able to see. So
because it was filmed in IMAX, apparently.
Yeah. Well, we have the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum Udvar Hazy Center, which is not far from here, and so we have seen. That's where we saw a lot of the Star Wars movies. So I imagine that's where we'll go for this one. So how about you? You got access to IMAX?
Yeah, there is. It's not the nicest of theaters, compared to our normal go-to at a Cinemark, their XD theater. But the fact that it was filmed in IMAX just kind of makes me feel like we gotta do that. So
that's gonna be fun. Good. Yep. Well, thank you all for joining us for this very, in some ways, indulgent, 3-episode series on the Lord of the Rings. But y'all, it's been 25 years since they first started coming out, and that is worth celebrating and pausing and giving thanks that these stories get to remain with us.
Exactly.
All right, let's go out and pursue the good worth fighting for, everybody.
That's right. And end actually with one ending. So
yes, that's right. That's right. All right. Farewell, everyone.
See you, friends.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.